Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Favi, and welcome to Arrows DIY. On my channel, I like to do Dollar Tree DIYs, high-end dupes, thrift flips, and the occasional Because I wanted to change the color of this. I didn't want it to be such a bright orange. You could also water down this paint and make like a nice light mixture. So I went in with some antique wax, and now I'm going over it with some of this white wax. And there you go. It's fairly simple to do, but you can do whatever colors you want on your project. I put some tea lights in there, and that's about it. Now for the next DIY, I'm just going to use these greeneries. I pulled these off of a greenery pick that my mother gave me not too long ago, and I'm just going to hot glue them in different positions all around this pumpkin. So now I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue them in different positions all around this pumpkin. I made the ones on opposite sides kind of do the same shape. So I went horizontal with two of the greenery pieces. And then on the other sides, I made the pieces go in a more vertical position. Sorry about that. I also made sure to cut off those ends so that it just looked better. Now, once they're hot glued on, do not try to remove them, because I made that mistake for some reason and it peeled off the orange paint. Now, if you don't do that, it would look great just like this. I'm not a big orange person, but I do think it looks nice just to keep the greenery like it is now on the foam pumpkin. However, I always take things a little to the next level, I guess I can say. And all I did was paint it with this white paint. Now, of course, you could just leave it just like this is right now, but like I said, I wanted to do something different on my channel. I always do unique DIYs, hopefully things you've never seen before. I love to offer you some inspiration, some high-end looking, very affordable home decor pieces. If you like this kind of stuff, you might want to hit that subscribe button or just hit that like button. It really helps my channel to grow. Now I'm just taking this chalk paint in Adirondack White, and I'm just going to give this one light coat, and I go very light with the paint, kind of like a dry brushing effect. I like how it looks kind of frosted, but you can still see that orange color peeking through. And yes, I go ahead and I paint the bottom as well because you never know the angle that you're going to be looking at this pumpkin, especially if you put it in a basket. So just paint the bottom to be safe. For DIY number 3, I'm going to go ahead and prep this pumpkin just like I prepped the other ones. Pop out that stem and the tag. Now we're going to use that box blade. We're going to cut a hole, this time going more towards the inner part of the center of the pumpkin. Anyways, go ahead and cut out that center, and then we can get started. So we're going to use one of these hula skirts from the Dollar Tree. This is the child luau skirt, so it is a little smaller, but I'm so grateful to my friend Robin from Robin's Buys and DIYs for being so sweet to mail this to me so that I can make this DIY to show you guys today. I've been dying to do this DIY, and it's because I see this pumpkin in stores like Target and just a lot of retail stores sell them for about $24, and I'm never going to pay that much money for one pumpkin. So hopefully you guys are able to see and get some ideas from some of these pumpkins today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hot glue that, as you just saw, and we're going to hot glue the other part of the skirt right next to it. Now you want to make sure that these raffia pieces line up so that it looks kind of like a braid, and just be very careful because hot glue does go through raffia. And push them together. You have a couple seconds to move them around, adjust them. You know, you can slide it up and down slightly for a couple seconds, and then go ahead and cut off the ends. You want to make sure to hot glue the end because since the raffia pieces are on that twine string, you want to make sure that they don't slide off your pumpkin. So I recommend always hot gluing the ends as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and space these out into thirds around the pumpkin. I'm going to do the same thing on 3 spots of the pumpkin. So when you do this, you want to make sure that your raffia pieces are out of the way so they don't get hot glued and you get this whole mess. So just make sure that, you know, treat the raffia as if you would your hair, if you were making a ponytail of some sort. And like I said, I was afraid, I only had 2 raffia skirts for this project, and I was afraid I was going to run out of raffia. So I only made 3 of these pieces, these double raffia pieces of skirt. I hope I'm making sense. I apologize. So then I just go ahead and make sure that everything is nice and lined up. And now we're going to go ahead and hot glue them down to the pumpkin. You want to make sure that your raffia pieces are nicely lined up, and you're going to pull them across, and you're going to hot glue it down. So you're going to use something with silicone so your fingers don't get burned. Once you reach that middle area between the 2 raffia lines that we made on both sides, you're going to hot glue it and cut it down at that middle portion. So we're going to do the same thing to the other side, and we're going to hot glue the raffia again, pulling nice and taut so that they're nice and flat, accentuating those curves on the pumpkin. You're going to hot glue it all the way down until you reach that middle section where it meets the other raffia skirt that we cut down. So once everything's glued down, you're gonna cut right down the middle, and we're gonna use more hot glue to secure those little pieces in place. Now you wanna use your silicone finger protectors, and you're gonna kind of roll them in the direction where the raffia pieces go so that they lay nice and flat. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing to all 3 sides. I'm just gonna show you a couple times how to do it so that it's clear, because I do speed up some moments on this video, but then other moments I slow down just so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing at different angles. And once you cut off the raffia pieces, I do hot glue the portion that we cut off because I didn't want a big raffia mess. And one hula skirt gives you a lot of raffia, so I recommend picking this up next time you're at Dollar Tree, because raffia is great for fall decor. Now we're going to take another piece of that raffia skirt and we're going to make a braid. So I'm just using my Mod Podge bottle here so that I can make a nice braid. Now it's kind of difficult to braid raffia because it's essentially kind of like paper when you're messing with it. So once you braid, I would say about 5 inches, 6 inches, just go ahead and press it down flat so that your braid kind of looks nice and neat, and it helps to keep it nice and even as well when you press it down. Now we're going to cut that off and we're going to glue that to that middle portion where the 2 raffia skirt pieces, the loose ends, meet. We're going to cover that seam with the braid, and we're going to do the same process to all sides, and this is what it looks like when it's all done. Now I took some toothpicks and I'm going to try to make a stem out of these. taking a shortcut and going all around the bottom there of the flower, and it'll be fine because we're going to separate the plies now. And once it's one ply with the Mod Podge, it should not be that obvious with the white background of the pumpkin. So you want to pull away all extra plies behind the napkin, and then we're going to use some Mod Podge to adhere these pictures to the side of the pumpkin. So I go ahead and I put a good squirt of Mod Podge on there, and it still wasn't enough. So then I put some more Mod Podge, and that was much better. So we're going to gently place the napkin right in the perfect position, and we're going to just lightly tap it with our fingers, starting in the center and kind of pushing it into the rib there, the little gap of the rib. We're going to push it in there and just smooth it out from the center, going outward to all of those corners there of the picture. Then we're going to go ahead, I also did cut the top of the flower just so that it would lay nicer on the top there. Once that was in position and I was happy with it, I sealed it with some Mod Podge. I went ahead and I just put one nice layer of Mod Podge all over the picture. And don't worry, because Mod Podge dries clear. And then I went ahead and I did the same exact thing for the other side. And I will not show you what I did. I'm just going to tell you that I did the same thing to the other side. So once both sides are on there, we're going to go ahead and take some of this antique wax by Folk Art Home Decor, and we're going to lightly distress and accentuate the middle portion there of those ribs on the pumpkin. We just want the creases to be accentuated. I go a little heavy inside of those creases of the ribs on the pumpkin, and then I clean off my paintbrush by tapping it on the little napkin there, and I'm going to lightly, I guess, dry brush the rest of the paint, the rest of the wax all over this pumpkin to give it kind of like a wood texture. Next, I took some of this poly rope from the Dollar Tree. It's like a plastic white rope that you could find at the hardware section of Dollar Tree, and I just cut 5-inch pieces, and then I just hot glued them all around this green stem that came with the pumpkin. So once that was all wrapped up, I used a lot of hot glue and I secured it all together, and I zip tied them so that it would be nice and solid as it was drying with the hot glue. Then I went ahead and I gave the poly rope a haircut so that it would be more of a straight edge, kind of like the end of the stem. So then I just took the other side of the poly rope and I kind of opened to expose that toothpick on the other end. And now I'm just going to use antique wax to brown it up, just to give it more of a stem brown color. And I apply the antique wax in layers, and I go a little heavy towards the end in certain spots like the top of the stem as well as the bottom parts, just so there's no white pieces left. Now I do think this makes a good stem for any pumpkin. As you can see here, I'm just trying it out on different pumpkins that I made for this video, and I decide that I like it for this one. It has that rustic, playful feel to it, kind of like a scarecrow, Raggedy Ann feel, and I like it. I think it's so cute, but I want to know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. So for this next DIY, I'm going to be using the same foam pumpkin and a straw hat from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to pull apart the straw hat to use these pieces. So I'm going to take pieces of the straw hat from the Dollar Tree, and after I cut the same hole that we did in the last DIY in the center of this foam pumpkin, I'm going to cut strips out from this straw hat, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the side of this pumpkin. Then we're going to cut the bottom off so that this pumpkin can stand. Do pumpkins sit or stand? I don't even know if pumpkins sit or stand. But basically we want the bottom to be flat so the pumpkin does not tip over. So we go ahead and we do this on 4 sides, and then we do it again 4 more times between the first 4 strips. So then we're going to take another piece of the strip and we're going to hot glue it on a diagonal, and basically we're going to do that twice. So we're going to have one strip hanging off that same side and then another one hot glued right on top of that second strip. So essentially we have 3 strips on one point, hot glued between each strip. Now we're going to take the one on the right and we're going to hot glue it in a curve formation and do the same thing to the one on the left. We're going to hot glue it in a curve formation. And then we're going to hot glue both of them in that center point there so that they meet on the same point, hot gluing on the same point between every layer. That way it looks even on both sides. So then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom, and this is just going to add a nice decorative feature. And I was kind of thinking of a cable knit sweater. That was kind of my inspiration, and I want this pumpkin to look like it's ceramic. So now I'm going to go in with this Home Decor by Folkart chalk paint, and I'm in Adirondack white, and I'm going to give it one good coat because I want it to look as though it's made of porcelain. That was my original idea. Now, some of these plastic pieces that hold together these strips off the hat, sometimes they get in the way. So you might want to cut those off after you hot glue them to the pumpkin. And then I distressed it a little with some antique wax, very lightly distressed on, but you distress as much as you'd like on your project. And then I added a succulent and some reindeer moss. And there it is in the pumpkin patch at my home. I hope you're enjoying this Pumpkin Palooza video. If you are, please don't forget to hit that like button. Now for the last DIY, we are going to make another Pumpkin Palooza masterpiece using the same straw hat and the same foam pumpkin. Now we're going to cut strips. These strips I think are about 11 inches, and we're going to hot glue them to the bottom of this pumpkin. So we're going to hot glue them one next to each other, going around the entire circumference of this pumpkin. Now, the straw hat naturally falls in a curved shape, so we could use that to our advantage. And then I just go ahead and cover the bottom because I don't know what's wrong with me, but I cover the bottom of pumpkins. Then I go ahead and I take another straw hat. Now this straw hat is a brown one, but it's the same one from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weave this other pattern to make kind of like a checkerboard with these natural fibers from Dollar Tree. These are also similar to the ones you would see in a high-end retail store or just a basic retail store, but these are about $25 to $40 at Hobby Lobby or Kirkland's or Target, and I will never pay that. So I'm going to show you here a cool way to make, high-end looking pumpkins. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and weave it through. So we're going to hot glue it under one of these vertical strips, and then we're just going to run it horizontally under one strip, over another strip, under one strip, over another strip, until we go back to the original spot where we started. I apologize if it doesn't make any sense, but I'm trying my best here. Hopefully you can see what I mean. And when you end the strip on the same spot where you started, you don't want to pull on the straw hat piece because it'll change the length of it. You want to keep it loose when you cut it so that it falls in the same place. Now you're going to start your next row in the opposite spot. So if you went under on the last one, you're going to go over on that next point a little lower down. Now when you're hot gluing these pieces, you want to make sure that you are pushing the dark brown piece up as close to the first brown piece at the top so that there are no orange pieces showing. Now I know I have orange pieces showing, as you can see there. You can easily paint your pumpkin before you do this so that you don't have that showing. However, I didn't mind because this is going to be the bottom of my pumpkin, so I wasn't too worried about that. But if you are, you might consider maybe painting your pumpkin white or some kind of light brown, tan, beige color so that it's not so noticeable. But I thought that leaving my pumpkin orange would show you the pattern a little easier than having to do this pattern on a white pumpkin. So I just go ahead and I skip forward, and I'm just showing you how I continue the same exact pattern, nothing different, as I cover the entire surface of this pumpkin. And I secure with hot glue between every layer so that nothing shifts and nothing moves. And then once we're done with the entire pumpkin, we just shove all those little pieces inside that hole we made at the beginning. So I want to thank you so much if you're still here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all your continued support. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you who take the time out of your day to watch my video. It means the world. So thank you. So now we're going to go ahead and just push all of these loose strands into the middle of the pumpkin, and then we're going to start working on the stem. Now for the stem, I found kind of like a cool way to make a stem. I always like the way the cinnamon sticks look as a stem. However, I am not about to use cinnamon sticks because I like using them in my food. So I'm going to kind of replicate that look with these sticks from my foam brushes. I am so bad, guys. I'm so bad with keeping my foam brushes and washing them in time. Oh my goodness. So I have so many foam brushes that have met the end of their term. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the foam part off of the sticks, the paintbrush sticks, the foam brush sticks, and I'm just going to hot glue them together. Then I'm going to use the antiquing wax, brush them on, and then we'll use a paper towel to wipe it off any excess. I also stuck a berry pick in there, and let me know what you think. Now for our final DIY, I'm going to be using these window cling stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give them a coat of paint in this color Oatmeal by Home Decor Folk Art. And once that's fully dry, I'm just going to adhere them to this pumpkin, which I painted in, I believe, Moss by Folk Art. It's also a chalk paint, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's what I used. And then I went ahead and I just put all of these leaf-shaped stickers all around this pumpkin, and I put some of the smaller ones on top of the larger ones, and I just went around and around until I used the majority of them. They are sticky, but they do need some help for the top portions to lay flat, kind of lay flush to the top of the pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and use some hot glue after I finish rearranging here. And be careful when you use the hot glue because you can feel all the heat through the sticker. So just be careful. You might want to use some finger protectors, or just want to feel the burn. I like to feel the burn. If I wonder, do you guys do that too? Sometimes I'll wear my silicone protectors and I'm still using other fingers because I kind of want to feel that little burn. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and just hot glue all the corners, all the tips down to this pumpkin. And you do need to hold it for some time because these are some stubborn stickers. And once you get all those corners and tips of these leaf-shaped window clings adhered finally to the pumpkin, we're going to go in with some antique wax and we're just going to lightly distress it all around the corners of and the tips of these leaves, as well as the edges of the pumpkin, just to give it some of that natural rustic feel, because I don't know, I guess I just like that. So once we're done distressing this pumpkin and these leaves, we're going to go ahead and paint the stem silver, pop it on there, distress it, and call it a day. Now, don't forget, guys, to check out the other ladies in this collab, and we have a lot of pumpkin inspiration for your fall decor. We also have that giveaway to show our appreciation to our subscribers and you for spending your time with us in these videos. So go ahead and put the emojis in the comment box down below, and that way you're entered to the Sherbonder and the calendar giveaway. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, friends. Bye.